All rejoiced as they heard the announcement. The Red Queen was expecting and would finally birth the heir to the throne. The White Rabbit was flooded with work as he had to let all the nobles in Wonderland know of this grand event. He first traveled to the White Palace Kingdom, a lustrous kingdom where everything is all shades of white, who is ruled by the Queen's sister, the White Queen. Second, to the Clock Tower Kingdom, populated with automatons and gizmos come to life, all created by the Lord, the Clockmaker. Third and finally, he rushed through the Mad Woods, a chaotic forest filled with the most deranged of creatures, all governed by the self-appointed Kingpin, the Mad Hatter. Months passed, and finally the day had arrived. The new heir was to be born. The midwives prepared the room. Everything had to be perfect, for they knew what could happen if they invoked the Queen's anger. The hours went by. The screams and wails filled the room and could be heard down the hallways of the castle. A princess was born. Gasps and whispers could be heard among the midwives as they swathed the newborn in blankets. The Red Queen shouted,
"My child! Let me see my child!"
One of the midwives held the child close to her mother. Red, vibrant hair was quickly noticed, and a single strand of silver white hair was visible. The Red Queen smiled in love with her beautiful daughter, looking up at the midwife, who stood with concern and almost horrified look.
"What is it?"
questioned the Red Queen. Nothing, Your Highness. It's just that..." As the midwife began to remove the cloth that covered the babe's head, two red rabbit ears popped and twitched. The Red Queen's face turned sour, and she let out a discordant and ear-shattering scream. She was horrified. The princess bore her signature crimson hair, but it also inherited her father's ears. The first to arrive in the room was the White Rabbit, who, when noticing the ears on the babe, locked the door behind him for no one to leave.
"Off with their heads! Off with their heads! Off with their heads!"
The Red Queen kept shouting, and with masterful skill, the White Rabbit dispatched all the midwives.
"All of them! All of their heads!"
As she looked at the child and backed at the White Rabbit, he was horrified. He had never seen the Red Queen lose her temper in such a manner, and never had he thought he would be ordered to take his own daughter's life.
Everything and anything, but that... I couldn't.
He said while his mind was filled with conflicted feelings.
"Do it now!"
She screeched as tears rolled from her eyes.
"Kill that monster now!"
Not here. I will, but not here.
And so, the White Rabbit blinked out of the room through his rabbit hole, a portal he can only create. The kingdom was put on high alert. Someone had entered the birthing room, murdered the midwives, and stolen the heir. The White Rabbit kept blinking in and out of his portal to get by the city when an opportunity presented itself. He heard another child cried out. Later that night, a guard found a child with a bloodied, crushed head, wrapped in cloth with the royal symbol in front of the gates of the city. The White Rabbit, after a long night, managed to arrive to the Clock Tower Kingdom. He entered to the clock tower and blinked inside the clockmaker's workshop.
You couldn't knock, could you, rabbit?
He was facing his work table, tinkering with a new contraption, and paying no mind to the out-of-breath White Rabbit.
I need to cash in a favor, old friend.
Favor? And what might you need from me? What could you possibly need? A skillful assassin who's devoted his life to being the Red Queen's errand boy. Surprising that you'd come so far just for a favor, and holding a child no less. Disgusting little critters.
He shuddered.
Go back to your queen and...
Amadeus. She is my child.
The White Rabbit held her close, with a concerned look about him. The clockmaker stopped tinkering and stayed quiet. The White Rabbit continued.
I have done terrible things. Even being here.
Not another word.
The clockmaker said with a stern voice, facing his workbench with hands on each side and back to the rabbit.
Leave the child on the floor and go. I never saw you. You were never here. And she was never yours.
Thank you, old friend.
I am repaying a debt, nothing more. Don't come back. leave.
The clockmaster let out a despondent sigh as the white rabbit blinked out of the room. Time has passed and the child grew into a young woman. She inherited her father's ability to create rabbit holes as well as practice time magic from the clockmaker himself. With this, she was able to combine two and create a realm in which she now rules over, a place where she can accomplish her goals and a safe place for those who are misguided and lost, so they can find themselves just as she did. Now, welcome to the rabbit hole where anything can happen. I'm your bunny tinkerer, Dairaibit, and I work at the clock tower at Wonderland.